Thank you for joining us again and welcome back to our channel. The country of the United States of America and China. The back and forth is not going anywhere soon. China has become defiant regards to US's current particular trade tariffs. We've seen the current president of the country of China, Mr. Xi Jinping, is building strategic relationship in Southeast Asia. China is a country that has said they are ready to take this particular trade war to whatever extent the United States want to take it to. Experts say that China is a country that talks softly and works with a big stick. That's what we are seeing here. China has also cut rare earth export to the United States of America based on news media. And at the moment, since US is so super concerned and embroiled with internal tariff discussions and negotiations with other countries, the country of China's leader, Mr. Xi Jinping, at the moment, is touring Asian countries trying to talk to partners to see how to build new collaboration and partnership.
President Trump is now calling on China to reach out to him to start negotiations on resolving their escalating trade fight. The latest comments from the White House came as Beijing ordered airlines not to take further deliveries of Boeing jets and U.S.-made airline parts.
I do have an additional statement that he just shared with me in the Oval Office. The ball is in China's court. China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them. There's no difference between China and any other country except they are much larger. And China wants what we have, what every country wants, what we have, the American consumer. Or to put it another way, they need our money.
The country of China has also said that they will not be bullied by the United States of America's approach. Geopolitics is a game that each country fights for their own interests, and China has accused the United States of being a joke in a number of areas with regards to the trade tariffs. And we currently see how the continent of African nations like South Africa, Lesotho, though we have 10% baseline at the moment, are struggling to see how they are going to basically engage the United States of America in several areas. But China has stood up to the US and saying that we can still survive without you in a number of areas. But again, we do not want to jack this particular trade war to a whole different level, talking about the percentages. But more importantly, China is walking the ropes. We see how Chinese officials and leaders are working their particular partnership across the continent of Africa. Mr. Xi Jinping is moving all across other Asian countries, looking at Vietnam, and basically discussing what needs to be done, that they shouldn't basically listen to the United States in terms of this particular tariff issue. But more importantly, the country of China is again walking the ropes and working with other very important trade partners. China is not afraid to an extent. We've seen Chinese officials go on Western media to talk on how if the United States of America think that China will cry or they will regret in terms of losing the US market, then the United States of America must think again, considering Chinese history.
China is fully prepared to fight to the very end because the world is big enough that the United States is not the totality of the market in the world. So if the United States wants to go in that direction of completely shutting itself out of the China market, be my guest.
Yeah, and China will lose the US market, which, as I've said, is 15%.
We don't care. We don't care. China has been here for 5,000 years. Most of the time, there was no United States, and we survived. Right. And if the United States wants to bully China, we will deal with the situation without the United States. And we expect to survive for another 5,000 years.
So it is important at this particular time to observe how countries can really stand up to their interests. Some experts say that the United States of America's bringing this particular trade tariffs on the table at the moment where the global economy is facing huge challenges, that the US to an extent is expecting that China will be the one to pick up the phone and make the call or make the deal, according to information coming from other news sources, then it's going to be a problem. Again, we see the United States, who is the world economy number one, and China saying, I'm number two. I can still work out my way. I have different opportunities and other sources. China has invested hugely in the continent of Africa, in par with the United States of America. If you compare that, it's nowhere to be compared because China's investment in infrastructure, road, bridges across the region, the visit by Spanish leader to the country of China recently showcases how Europe to an extent is figuring out how to survive in this relationship. But more importantly, China is reminding the United States of America that if you are bringing this particular trade tariff to whatever level, we are open to talk on a number of areas. But again, it does not mean that China will bow to the United States of America, and geopolitical analysts and experts are calling the shot for the country of China. They are telling the United States through global media that this nonsensical approach, according to them, it will not work. This bullying, these intimidation tactics that the United States of America is employing will not happen in terms of the Chinese own perspective.
When you hear Donald Trump say China wants a deal, it just doesn't know how to go about it. They're proud people. J.D. Vance talks about Chinese peasants. What do you make of their conduct in this respect?
If J.D. Vance thinks that he's dealing with the peasants in China, and I'm proud to be a descendant of the peasants, most of us are descendants of the peasants anyway, that's our tradition. We are farmers before, but now we are one of the leading industrialized economies in the world. So I'm sorry, J.D. Vance doesn't know what he's talking about. And therefore, I don't think there will be China-US dialogue unless the United States changes its attitude towards China. Deal with China as it is, show respect to China, show respect to the Chinese people, and don't try to impose your prejudice and biased view about China or about the rest of the world.
So, geopolitical environment is tense as Europe continues to review its relationship with the United States of America, but China has stood up to the United States to an extent that the US is only beginning to imagine that maybe it brought this upon itself. This are challenging time in global economy, and we are seeing the two big players in the global economy are standing up to each other, and China to an extent may have some leverage here. We have seen United States of American farmers complaining that if they lose the market in China, it will be devastating in terms of their own particular export, what is needed for them to survive. And I think Mr. Trump, moving really fast with regards to this trade tariff, failed to understand the fundamentals of what impact that could be based on analysts' own perspective. So the US's unilateral approach in terms of the US again have the right to make decisions on which countries should trade with them fairly. But again, it should go without saying that other countries do have options at this particular time. Maybe that's what the United States of America failed to recognize.
For more, let's bring in Washington, D.C. reporter Kate Sullivan. Kate, we have seen Beijing really stand firm and be pretty defiant when it comes to these trade negotiations that, of course, have not even started at high level. So what can we expect President Trump to do while all of this is happening, given that, of course, his consumers in the U.S. are expected to take a hit if these tariffs actually lead to higher prices?
That's right. And, we're not seeing any end in sight at the moment for this escalating trade war. As you saw in that clip, Caroline Leavitt, the White House keeps saying China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them. So we're seeing, the U.S. and China really continue to dig in their heels on this. And the trade barriers we're seeing right now are at absolutely staggering levels. The U.S. has imposed a 145% tariff on Chinese goods. China has imposed a 125% tariff on all U.S. goods. It will be interesting to see how Trump responds to the collateral damage that we saw today, which is what you mentioned, China ordering its airlines not to take further deliveries of Boeing jets. This decision was made after the 125% tariff, would have doubled the cost of U.S. made aircraft and parts and just made it really impractical for them to accept these jets. So, you're seeing another major American company get caught in this fast-moving, escalating trade fight. But as of right now, the White House is really showing no signs at all of giving in and just continues to say that they are waiting for China's call.
So China, to an extent that we all are looking on this back and forth, and the United States of America was very unhappy that Mr. Xi Jinping was visiting Vietnam and other countries within that region and coercing them, talking with them on how to form some kind of an alliance in terms of signing the Memorandum of Understanding, which is very common that you see leaders around the world, each time they visit, they sign this Memorandum of Understanding. But others question this Memorandum of Understanding signed by China. But again, China is saying that we have our tentacles spread across the world. We can also look for new market. We can survive without the United States of America to an extent. So this is a challenging time in the global economy, like I said. So the United States of America may have brought this to itself, or like I said previously, the U.S. may have overestimated its economic importance, and there is U.S. an important economy, don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying here is that the United States may have overstretched itself, may have overestimated itself, and this may backfire to an extent. So U.S. major companies like Microsoft, Apple, looking at the world's richest man, Elon Musk, is complaining in regards to trade, opening free trade between Europe and the United States of America, and that is going to impact its businesses, looking at how most companies in the United States import products from China and also raw materials that are being used to manufacture finished products, and a number of products are being finished in the country of China being exported to the United States of America. So I think a number of experts in the US fail to understand the importance of China, how China has grown so powerful and also powerful economically. Like I said previously, China is the manufacturing capital of the world, and the United States of America failed to look at it from that perspective. So we're going to be seeing what's going to happen with regards to what the global media is saying, where the United States of America stands at the moment, and again, more importantly, how China and the US may, to an extent, narrow or slow down this particular tic-tac or back and forth. For now, I'll be looking forward to meeting you soon in our next episode. Have a good day. Bye-bye.